Yes, good morning and welcome. It's that time when we take a look at the headlines. This morning being a Wednesday, of course, you know how we do. WCW, that's the hashtag WCW News Review Panel. All-female news review panel this morning. We're privileged to have on my immediate left, Cynthia Mutere, governance analyst, also chair of the Women's League in Fort Kenya. Next to her, we have Anna Nyokabi Gadesha, the women representative for Kiambu County. And for the very first time on this panel, we have Anne Anyanga, an aspirant for the Migori County Governor's seat. Karibu sana, it's a pleasure to have you, madam.
Thank you.
Of course, quite a good number of women are looking for the top county jobs. That's for governors. You're one of them. So it is a pleasure to have you with us today.
Asante.
A quick look at the headlines, and of course the Standard, we are still waiting for that edition. We do understand they were relaunching something yesterday, so probably it will come as we go on with the news review. But we do have the Nation. Kenya's home of old school corruption. Now this is another issue about corruption. Yes, less than about 130 days to the elections. Another corruption scandal comes up. Torrents of fraud, Kenya's home of old school corruption. At Kenya Pipeline, they do graft the old-fashioned way, looting way. In one kickback-driven decision to build a line the region doesn't need, the taxpayers on course to lose 40 billion shillings. Here, and this I'm reading directly from the front page of the Daily Nation, here the tenderpreneurs make Josephine Kabura look like an innocent flower girl. That's what they've written on the Daily Nation. Look where my D has brought me. That's the other headline on the front page. Hassan Joho and his KCSE academic qualifications and issues thereof. Let's start off with this fraud, the scandal at Kenya Pipeline, and just the highlights. We already do have a pipeline. Yes, there are plans to upgrade the pipeline to a 16-inch pipeline. But those plans, if at all we would have done the upgrade, would have cost 16 million shillings. Those plans were changed and they decided to build an entirely new pipeline, a 20-inch pipeline that would cost about 60 billion shillings. Hence the corruption. That we are going to lose money simply because we want to replace a pipeline that has no problem. That if at all we needed to upgrade, we would have. And in fact, because there was a plan to upgrade the pipeline by using 16 billion shillings, we already went ahead and bought equipment that would fit in that new upgrade. But then even after buying the equipment, we decided, okay, fine, let's do away with this 16-inch pipeline entirely and build an entirely new pipeline. So according to this, the taxpayer stands to lose about 40 billion shillings because the tender has already been awarded.
Very unfortunate. In this new constitutional dispensation, really, with the institutions that we've put in place, this has been the order of the day. And I think the establishment has failed Kenyans, really, to have this coming up. And I'm sure if we really interrogated, like almost every sector, we'd find these things. And especially oversight authorities, parliament. I mean, I'd actually just put them together with the establishment for them to have been able to check these issues and bring them to the forefront so that measures are put in place to save the taxpayer. Really, we've been failed.
Yes.
We have been failed.
And for any Kenyan reading this, it's nothing shocking. If you read the story...
Just another scandal.
If you read the story about Kenya Pipeline, and it's actually inside page 8 and 9 of the Daily Nation, and you see the history that this corporation has gone through, how many of its MDs have been taken to court for trying to defraud the company. None has been convicted. One paid bail, 10 million shilling bond, and escaped with his family to Texas. Nothing has happened after that. It is one MD after another, one board after another, all of them being taken to court, nothing, no convictions. Then you see this, 130 days to the elections. Surely, is it that Kenyans feel, or some of these people feel, yes, nothing will happen to me. Even if I do this, nothing will happen to me.
It's the system of operation, really, in this country. Because when you see then that story saying that managing director after managing director have absconded, nothing has been, then where's the office of the DPP? Where's the office of the IG? Where's the office of all these people, you know, to bring these people to book? Is there evidence to prosecute? Is there evidence? Are they just so clean and they do it so smartly that there's nothing to convict these people?
Or is it just impunity? Anna.
Well, when it comes to the issue of state resources, we do have laws that have been created that deal directly with people who are involved in looting of state corporations. When we take a look at that particular story in terms of the pipeline, it would be good to understand the decision from a ministerial perspective in terms of what informed the movement from 16 to 60. When we take a look at the discovery of oil, is it that they needed to move the oil from tallow through a pipeline? How much of it is required to move through those particular pipelines? Was it the capacity that was not available in the existing one that they needed the upgrade, or the decision that informed to move from a 16 to 60 billion shilling to 20 20-inch pipeline? You know, there's some of those technical aspects that we probably need to understand. And realize, okay, if that is the case, and how much of that oil will we be exporting to our neighbors, Uganda, is there a branch off to Tanzania? And if that is the case, what is the pressure on the roads? What is the effect of the damage on the roads? What, you know, the cost-benefit analysis in terms of what informed that decision to be able to move to the 20-inch pipeline. When we've taken a look at that particular decision, then you know, we're not condoning any level whatsoever of corruption, but we would want to find out the full facts of it. I'm not a member of the Energy Committee, but when it comes to the issue of you've mentioned it, 130 days. Yes, 130 days. How many MDs since the inception of the corporation? So we're talking about something that started how many generations ago? How have we attempted to address this? We have right now a special crimes, economic crimes unit within the government. There is the office of the DPP. If these reports have been established to be true, there's a natural justice procedure that needs to be able to be followed. What has been done in terms of, is this a report of the Auditor General that they've lifted the information from, or is it a committee report? Because most parliamentary business is now done, executed through committee stages. So it's important that we understand this, and if found to be true, there's a natural way that it should be handled.
But of course the decision is always made, why move? And feasibility studies are done and the report is done, and we do see the need to go that way. But then it is the process that then brings in the loopholes of corruption.
Because changing a pipeline is something that you don't just do at the spur of the moment. You don't just say, wake up and say, no, we have to change the entire pipeline.
Because I'm sure there are studies that everything is on.
By the time they were buying new equipment that's yet to be used, because ahead of a planned upgrade, of course this takes years. Then you buy all the equipment, then you say, no, let's build an entire new pipeline. And
you're right about that, but you see, there has to be a point where people have to be held responsible for their decisions, right? Because you cannot buy equipment and not use it. And that's why I'm asking, what did the feasibility study say? Because if it means that, you know, when you start drilling oil, unless you cap it, it becomes a problem because it's constantly flowing. And what exactly informed it? Is it the level of oil that is there that actually needs movement? And is it movement from there, or is it movement from the port over to our export countries that are our neighbors, Burundi, Rwanda, and all the others, that so they can, if you know the nightmare it is to drive from Nairobi to Mombasa. It used to be a 4.5-hour drive. Right now, if you're lucky to make it in 8 hours. But, you know, thank goodness that there's SGR, and it better start quickly so that that can be now a 4 or 5-hour drive, train ride, instead of, and you know the horrific accidents that are on the road.
I'll look at it differently. I think we need to look at corruption deeper than what we are doing, because it has become a way of life. What do you do when something has become a culture? Then we have to start changing. We have to find ways of having to change the mindsets of Kenyans as a whole. We are not just talking about Kenya Pipeline. We're talking about all the other institutions. Whoever goes, whichever institution, you find they're just playing the same game. So what do? We need to change the mindset. As a country, we have to decide and say we want to change the attitudes of the people, so that we move from the concept of saying, I want to make money. Can we be thinking of, I want to provide a service that fills the gap in communities?
Yes. But my concern is, and that's why I mentioned it's only 130 days to the next elections, is that yes, this, and discussing the pipeline, we must admit it's, I'll admit it's beyond my scope of knowledge because there's a lot of engineering and expertise involved in that, and they could be justified, but surely when something is raised like this, it has to be investigated so that we know if some wrongdoing has been done. Now, is Parliament right now, or the government, really going to focus to give any time to such a scandal? 130 days to the elections. Nominations are coming up in 2 weeks' time. If you're invited to the Energy Committee to go probe something like this, do you really have time? Let's be honest.
I think all of the parliamentarians are out in the field looking for votes, and everybody's trying to secure their nominations.
It will not pass because, first of all, you must drop the necessary quorum for it to be able to be discussed. But, you know, realistically, you know, prosecuting a very serious business at this time may not be feasible, given that we're heading towards nominations. 2 weeks. You said 2 weeks, and then within 2 weeks or 3 weeks' time, you'll know whether that you'll be back in the 12th Parliament or not. So
because now you're more preoccupied with whether or not you'll come back to Parliament than actually conducting any business at this time. Yes, therefore it means that people could actually take advantage of this electioneering period, the campaign period.
Which is a dent to the government, I'd say, to Jubilee government, because perception, because what people will not interrogate as the way you're explaining to us to see the need. Was there need for this to happen? Was there, I mean, just the whole process. No one is going to sit and really, all they see is corruption, and it's like corruption, 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 and that's a dent. That's a dent to the Jubilee government, really. 130 days to the election, as you're emphasizing, and therefore something has got to be done.
But what can be done?
A change of regime. That's what's going to happen.
Even the president himself right now is busy with the elections, with the campaigning and electioneering. Surely he's not going to waste his time looking at what is happening at Kenya Pipeline, will he?
But the institutions that are mandated to do that, not the president himself.
Including Parliament, but Parliament
is just one.
Listen, this is just one of the institutions that are that are mandated. The reports don't go away. The reports are permanent records that can be reviewed at the necessary point. When this particular report it's been published, it has to go before the House and before that Energy Committee. Has it been received by Parliament? I'm not so sure that it has. So by the time this comes into Parliament, it will go onto the floor of the House, be discussed. We'll probably, and right now we're doing the budget for the Republic of Kenya. So let's just say that these things don't go away. They will be discussed in due course and at the right time. So bringing this now and trying to say, oh, it's a dent in the Jubilee government. Let's see, how many Jubilee governments started when you said that? How many
4 years?
No.
Well,
this is
we're talking about public perception, really, because
it's
when
not
we hear about
when we take a look
corruption at the port,
some of them 1988, for goodness sake,
and we're talking about who's going to be interrogating that it goes way back and it started from a previous regime.
My concern as a Kenyan right now is the fact that corruption or the possibility of fraud within a government parastatal could go unchecked, because members of the National Assembly, members of Parliament are busy campaigning. So this headline is simply a headline to get people excited, and Kenyans looking at this will get all frustrated and get angry at this, that this is happening, but nothing. Even your representatives are not able to actually probe this.
That's not the case. It will be probed, right? But
not by the current legislators.
Depending on when it comes in, probably May. I mean, the House is adjourned in June. So
clearly there's no time.
When you take a look at the not even party nominations, there's the issue that is right now before the House, which is the budget for the country, which has to be brought forth from all the various committees are sitting down, oversighting the various departments that are assigned to them. So when we take a look and sit down at this, I'm sure this will be on the floor of the House today or tomorrow.
They leave the stage with that big
April
label,
9th,
corruption.
so that will come in and it will be discussed. You know, and when I hear, you know, if we were going to talk about corruption, for goodness sake, let's not just talk about Jubilee, because we all know if we were to go back in terms of the issues that are discussed here, who are some of the engineers? And you know, when you want to start debating that whole issue of corruption, first of all, has any wrongdoing been determined? No. Has any investigation happened? Not
no one
yet.
prosecuted. You said like about 8 to 10 managing directors.
When we take a look at it,
I don't want us to reduce it to a NASA versus Jubilee debate.
Yes, exactly. So you know, let's rise above that and become national
But what
leaders.
Do headlines do for that? What do headlines do for the establishment?
My concern with this headline is that it will go unprobed.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you. It will be probed and it will be discussed by the various departmental committees. Remember, this is not the only thing that is before a departmental committee. There are very many other items that are before it, and when it comes in, it's slotted in at the right time, at the right place where it should be, while other issues are being discussed.
Let's switch to politics now, because fine, as I said, we are not experts in oil, in the oil pipeline. We're just reading the headline on the Daily Nation, and we feel that if at all there's any wrongdoing, it needs to be probed. Okay, so that we can establish the truth to it. Now let's talk about politics. And Opposition Chief Raila Odinga wants his co-principals in NASA to focus on unseating Jubilee from power instead of obsessing on which of them gets what position within the coalition. Now, of course, Odinga was referring to the tensions within NASA over the choice of its presidential candidate. This is a story on Citizen TV. But even as Raila Odinga was advising patience in determining NASA's choice of presidential candidate, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka led the brigade of Ukambani leaders to Emali, where they actually declared that they, if I may quote Wavinya Ndeti, choice number 1, Kalonzo Musyoka; number 2, number 3, and number 4, Kalonzo Musyoka. Now, of course, everyone will say every principal within NASA has a right to go and campaign, but surely this kind of rhetoric, especially what we've heard from the Wiper Party leader in the last 2 days, and what you're seeing happening, definitely it stands to hurt the NASA unity. Don't you agree?
No, I don't agree. I don't agree that it would hurt unity, because all the 4 principals, as we know them, have all committed to the unity of NASA. And so what is happening is that each one of them then is going out there and marketing themselves and showing why they are the best fit to be the presidential candidate for NASA. And of course we have until, what, April 26th, until the person is named, because of course all 6 levels of nominations are going to be done. And so within the National Coordinating Committee, they're working within those timelines. And so there's absolutely no confusion. I think each one of them is stretching, flexing their muscle, showing why they need to be the presidential candidate. Yes, and so there's commitment to be in NASA.
You know, we've said this before, we'll keep telling them again. They have no plan, they have no choice of a leader, and we can clearly see that
what are the justifications of saying there's no plan?
You are talking, I am talking now. This whole issue, it's very clear. It's going to be a significant fight. Because right now we've heard James Orengo, you know, the NASA side of the Code Brigade, talking how that it must be Raila, and Kalonzo Musyoka saying that, and his brigade saying it must be him. There's no clear unity or agreement, and I don't think that there shall be one, even if they claim that there shall be one.
What if they eventually get, what if they eventually come up with a flag bearer? Because they just might, yes? They come up with a flag bearer, but surely
they must, we will.
Fine, I'm talking about now after. You've been fighting all this time. The kind of rhetoric sometimes gets crosses the line. At the Wiper Party nominations, we had some people being told, grow up, and all these things. Then eventually you get flag bearer, and it's one person. Yes, we finally identify it as this person. But surely, the fighting just before, during the process, will it not hurt?
That is very, very healthy. This is a show of democracy. It's only NASA that has that in this country. You've seen what Jubilee did. I'll be president, nobody else. And you don't talk about it. You don't mention, nobody mentions. That means they've shut out everybody. And so is going to be president in 2022. You're shutting out everybody again. That's dictatorship. That's very bad. But NASA has democracy, giving everybody an opportunity to vie for seats. Excellent. Best way to go.
What about this issue of, because, I'm trying to rush through the headlines on page, because of time. On page 4 of the Daily Nation, NASA to send 10 agents to every polling center. Of course, NASA has also been talking about having a parallel tallying center, which Jubilee is totally opposed to. But why are you opposed to this? Because surely we've had it in other jurisdictions in the United States. Each party conducts its own tallying. Well,
when we talk about parallel polling stations,
not polling stations, tallying
centers. Yes. You see, the reason IBC has been given the mandate, and we've given into all of their demands. This, we want this IBC centers. Let IBC do its job. When we have these parallel tallying station centers, the danger with it, and which we probably need for them to agree to, is this: not announcing results like the day that they started to do, which country was this that started to announce that this is the presidential candidate based on what our tallying has come in. No, there is a recognized body that is supposed to do that. And I think maybe one of the key things that I probably would want to warn Musalia Mudavadi and Kalonzo Musyoka on. Remember when we went to the 2007 elections and the poll violence that erupted as a result of that. We saw that the person or the people who are made to carry the burden for the violence in the country were Deputy President William Ruto and His Excellency the current President. To be very careful by people trying to hide behind the issue of, oh, this is our party. We've heard the rhetoric first come in, we will not participate in the elections, current elections. The next thing is that they must be the
problem with the tallying center.
No, I'm coming there. I'm coming there. When we hear this, it's about preparing the country towards violence. So essentially, when that preparation for people's minds that we're getting ready to go to get violence within this particular elections as they come up, by the rhetoric that is going to be drummed up and that we've heard before. No Raila, we had the last time, no Raila, no peace. There was a fight. Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, be careful, because they will be the ones who will be told, hang the hook in terms of when these tallying stations start to release results that are not right, and there's violence in this country.
Can do the same.
They will be. No, we will not do that. We are followers of the law. We have agreed. We have agreed
put down an argument.
We've seen in the United States media houses actually,
and we have even seen the presidential candidates in the last election actually had their own tallying centers. Uhuru had his own tallying center. Everybody has their own campaign little secretariat where they're tallying. Even you as the woman representative, you'll have your own agent who is tallying with the centers and knowing what's coming out from all the constituencies to just keep at par. But constitutionally, IEBC then is mandated to declare the results. But I don't see any problem with Jubilee having their own tallying center and NASA having their own tallying center, so long as they're not the ones who are releasing the results. And then Jubilee has had this argument saying that there's violence. It's only Jubilee who don't have an agenda right now to sell to the country. What are they rallying the country around? Because when we have seen the president and the deputy president, even going to Western region, they start saying Raila is the one who was the perpetrator of all this violence, and we are the one, the buck stopped with us, and we boo-hoo-hoo. We cannot go with that narrative into this election. We cannot talk about violence when shortcomings are highlighted.
He has refused to sign the peace agreement. He has refused to sign the peace agreement. So if you're going to do that,
I will not allow us to revisit the 2007-2008 post-poll chaos.
Because we're talking about tallying centers that are bringing violence. There is no violence in bringing a tallying center.
A tallying center is very, very valuable. there's no way you're going to be in politics if you cannot tally your own votes.
Yes.
So each and every group must have tallying centers. I don't see why anybody would complain about that.
Yes.
I think the only problem here in Kenya is when you've had 3 consecutive elections being rigged. That means that somebody is used to stealing, and they don't want anybody to find out that they're doing that. The stealing must stop.
And now ODM has indicated that the ODM leader has indicated that every polling station across the country, including in zones which are not predominantly or perceived as strongholds, opposition strongholds, they will send 10 poll watchers.
Because that is a measure that you go back and you look like, what were my shortcomings in the last elections? And he realizes that even in Jubilee strongholds, they didn't have enough agents there, or agents at all, really. And so that's something that you want to do right now. And that is a narrative that we have started saying, that we would want to adopt a polling center to guard the vote at the polling center.
And Jubilee should consider doing the same, even in regions that are not considered predominantly Jubilee?
Yes.
Well, Jubilee will do that, considering especially, you look like regions that are predominantly Jubilee strongholds like Mtwapa, where ODM won. We will make sure that we do have our agents there. We'll have our agents. I mean, we do have support, I think, throughout the whole country, where people have gone on and seen that, some of the projects that the government has started have been beneficial to the people, and removing especially the issue of money sticking with, like the kazi kwa wazee, pesa kwa wazee, kazi kwa vijana. That has disenfranchised people in the strongholds that are going to be voting for NASA.
Let's take a break. When we return, ladies,
to give us the presidential candidate to rally.
When we return, we discuss about Jubilee bigwigs being locked out of polls. Can Jubilee afford to lock out Mike Sonko, for example? That after the break.